Hey everyone, George here. Welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be talking about betta fish and what I think is the best care for them, what I think is necessary to keep them in a healthy environment. I hope you'll join me and we'll have a conversation that I think is really going to be productive about these fish. Let's get to it. Hey everyone, George here, and welcome back to the channel. Today I want to talk about betta fish and what I think is the unfair and inhumane treatment of these fish. Now, I don't know if you've ever been to someone's house and sitting on their coffee table or somewhere in their kitchen and a bowl of some kind is a betta fish and something about this big here. No heater, no filtration, not much decoration. Sometimes they'll buy one of those little plastic leaves that sticks to the side of the glass so that the betta fish can rest on it in the evening. What a lousy, poor existence for these fish. I've gone into PetSmart, I've gone into Petco, and I've seen these fish in these small little containers. And I've looked at it and I'm like, how do they do that and not feel some sort of responsibility towards the inhumane treatment of that animal? These fish are just like any other tropical fish. In fact, in many ways, they're much more intelligent and much more, I would say they have personality that goes beyond most fish. And I just don't understand how people feel that that's okay to put them in small environments like that without a heater, without a filter, like I said, and any real place to hide and live and exist. Now, this is a basic setup that I would have for a betta fish. This is a 7.5 gallon tank. It's not a huge tank, but for a betta fish to live in, this is an absolutely perfect environment. There is a filter in here. There is a heater in here. There are lots of plants in here. This is scaped just like any other fish tank that I have in my home. And the fish is treated just the same way as I would treat any other fish. And he's happy. If you watch the fish and its movements, you'll notice that if you have your betta fish in a smaller environment, no filter, no heater, there's two reasons why that fish isn't moving around very well. Number one, it doesn't have any room. The second reason is there's not enough warmth in the tank. They don't have a heater. There's fluctuations between night and day. When the heat comes on during the day in your home, the water will of course heat up a few degrees, and then in the evening it drops off. These fish become very lethargic in situations where the water is not warm enough for them. So I think it's very important that we start thinking about this a little bit and having a little bit of understanding as to why these fish need the environment of a aquarium type scenario so that they can live long lives. Betta fish can live up to 5 years if they're well cared for. And that means that this fish right here, who has every benefit of any other aquarium that I have in this room or in my home, he has the same benefits of having a nice life and treated well. Now, most of these are bred in captivity. They're not wild. Wild bettas don't look anything like this. There are lots of different types of betta fish. There are different breeds out there. And I'm not going to go through all of them, but there are many, many different breeds out there that are on the market. But the original betta fish doesn't look anything like this. They're generally very beautiful fish. I think the original betta fish is got extraordinary color, and the males and the females alike are very beautiful fish. And one of the things that I think that we fail to understand about betta fish is that, yes, we cannot put more than one in a tank unless they're females, where we can have a sorority of them. but male betta fish cannot be put in the tank with two male betta fish, or they will fight. They will kill each other. They are capable, however, in larger tanks of being in with a community tank. I've seen it done many, many times. And if there's a lot of fish in the tank, the betta fish will basically stay to himself and exist among the community fish that are in that tank. What I want to talk about really is how important it is for you to at least have a minimum of 3 to 5 gallons. I recommend 7.5 gallons as a good sized tank for betta fish, but if you can't afford something like that, or you don't want to go out and spend that kind of money, whatever the scenario might be, or whether or not you think betta fish is the same as other tropical fish, there's a lot of misnomers about that and misunderstandings about what betta fish are and the existence that they require. If you're going to get a betta fish, you need to really think about getting them a heater, some kind of filtration, at least some kind of scaping in the tank, not going to the extent that I have here. This tank is, of course, filled with beautiful plants, carpet plants, back plants, floating plants, everything that this fish needs to survive and have a good life. You don't have to go to this extreme, but if you are going to have a betta fish and you want to keep that fish in good shape and have peace of mind that that fish is going to survive, you need to at least have an aquarium, and they sell them for $29. I've even seen them for $19.99, 3 to 5 gallon tanks with built-in filtration, built-in light. All you need to do is buy a Betta heater, which is a very small heater that shuts off at a certain temperature. Those are easy to find. In fact, this tank has one of those in there so that I don't have to worry about it. It runs at around 78 to 80 degrees. But if you're keeping these betta fish in temperatures at 72 to 73 degrees, they're not going to do well at all. They're going to be very lethargic because the colder their bodies are, the less they're going to move around, and they just don't do well. So what I would suggest is when you're getting a betta fish, think about how the animal feels and how contained the fish must feel in an environment that small. If you watch this fish here and you watch him move around the tank, he is extremely content with his environment. They pace back and forth just like any fish does. But if you look at the fish themselves, he's a happy fish. He gets along okay with his companions in there. There's a couple of algae eaters in there that I have with him, but he may chase them around once in a while, and sometimes they chase him back, but they never hurt each other. He's been in here for, I would say, probably 6 months, and he's doing just great. No diseases, no problems whatsoever. He's just an absolutely beautiful fish, and he's very content in the environment that he's in. So anyways, just to run this back down to you and talk about this in a more serious manner, if you're going to get a betta fish, think about what kind of environment is required for that fish. Again, make sure that what you're putting them in is big enough so that they can move around. Number 2, that they have a heater of some kind to keep them warm. And number 3, that they are getting some kind of filtration in that tank to keep the water clean. These fish can tolerate dirtier water than other fish, that's true, but I think that if you're going to have a fish like this, you need to give them the kind of existence that's going to give them a long and wonderful life. Anyways, that's all I have to say about that. I hope you'll subscribe, you'll like, and make comments on the channel. If you don't agree with me about betta fish and what I've just said about them and what I think they require, then I'm happy to listen to you and talk about this. But I really believe that the betta fish is just a fish that is abused so much, and they don't deserve that. They're just such beautiful fish, and I mean, they're one of the few fish that I know that will actually come to the top of the tank and eat out of your hand. The last thing I want to talk about is a top for your tank, because betta fish will jump out if you do not have a top. It's happened many times. He thinks I'm going to feed him, but that's not what's going on. But anyway, yeah, if you can, this has a glass top on it here, and that is just to prevent the fish from jumping out. They don't intentionally jump out, but they jump out for reasons of thinking there's food at the top, and they get a little aggressive or overstimulated, and they will come out of the tank. And that has happened to me, and it's very unfortunate, because I had a very beautiful dragon scale betta fish several years ago, and I had them for 2 days, and I didn't have a top on it because I didn't know much about the betta fish at the time, whether they were jumpers or not. And I found them on the floor on the second day, and it was just heartbreaking, because he's a beautiful fish, and actually had paid quite a bit of money for him, and I was really sad that happened. Anyways, leave your comments, subscribe, like, and appreciate you talking with me today, and we'll talk again soon.